I need to work less. I need to sleep more. I need to spend more time with my family. I need to not drink. I only probably drink once a week.
So why aren't you doing those things?
What a great question.
Chris James, welcome to the Purpose-Led Leadership Podcast. We've met a couple of times at Leah Turner's party. We've had some conversations on LinkedIn and other platforms. I'm delighted to get you on, really intrigued to find out more about you as a person. For those that don't know you, just tell the audience what you actually do now.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for this too. What I do now, I help freelancers, creatives, coaches win more clients using organic content, so they don't need to worry about ads or dead complicated funnels. There's 5 pillars which we can go into or not, but yeah, it's changed my life and it's changing loads of other people's lives as well.
Yeah, because on LinkedIn, I'll go straight to it. I think it's awash with people like you, for want of a better term, in terms of people that say that you can get 50 grand a month or 10 grand a month by doing this and doing that. And it must be quite hard to distinguish yourself, and B, how do you distinguish yourself from all those other people that are kind of saying similar things?
It's painful. Like, not necessarily for me, because I love it, but just to see how many messages I get saying, I can help you get to this number or this many appointments. Could you handle 300 appointments booked in your calendar next week? Like, no, gotta fuck.
Yeah,
300, are you mad? I'll just take them over the year, please. But yeah, there are a lot of people doing that. I don't find it hard to distinguish at all, because I do what I've always done since I started making content and just put everything out there. I don't hold anything back.
Right.
I do it in a very strategic and intentional way. I know exactly what I want each post to do. Doesn't always do it, but that's what I aim for. And we have, I don't know, I've never seen a program with like a genuine program with more genuine client results than ours. On LinkedIn.
Because there's a big kind of always discussion about, I think salespeople think marketing's a load of rubbish and kind of vice versa, really, right? But I think with your stuff, I think on Instagram, you're called Sales Guy Chris. And I think that in order to be successful, there has to be a huge element of sales and marketing, but the combination of that needs to be right as well. So talk to us about that.
Well, I like stripping things back to the basics, and sales and marketing, and in the corporate world and businesses that I've worked in, have always had this, like, they've always hated each other, because the sole role of marketing, aside from like awareness and nurturing, is the end goal is to generate leads. That's the end goal for marketing. The end goal of sales is converting those leads. So the salespeople get pissed off because the marketing department haven't brought qualified leads through. Yeah. But the marketing department get pissed off because the salespeople aren't qualifying aren't converting the leads they're sending through. Right. So that's what I've seen. And yeah, the whole aim of being online is, as a personal, operating through a personal brand, in my eyes, is the marketing side of things first and foremost. And everything stems from the offer. What are you putting out there? Then that's transferred into a message of some kind. Yeah. And then that then becomes your marketing in different ways, combining yourself, your service, and the opportunity that you present.
Yeah. So these clients of yours I've seen that speak very highly of you with tangible results. I know you've kind of given us the headlines there, but is it quite an emotive thing? Is it more process stuff? Just talk us through some of the steps around if someone was starting out, how they're going to go from sort of nothing to then getting hot leads to actually getting conversions. Because I feel like there's personal branding, we're given lots of different advice, but with your stuff, I think it is a process, but it's also specific to each person. Don't know.
It's a process for sure, but you do have to have the emotion in it, like you say. It is emotive. The main thing I'm seeing time and time again, and yes, it's a buzzword, but it comes down to the mindset of the client, because I've been in other programs just like mine, and the clients themselves in there, some of them just don't believe that they're worthy or capable of achieving these things. And we're quite transparent. We have sales calls or discovery calls before people join. We've never tried to click to buy this. There's no like low ticket really available. I've got one that I never talk about, but we take people to a call. We have a real conversation with them. Sometimes I can be on them for like an hour and a half. Because I want to understand if that person has got one, the time,
Yeah.
but also like the belief system
Mm.
to do what it takes.
You've talked about that quite a lot, and I talk about it a lot around. I think you can have all the automation, all the process, all the stuff in the world, but as you're saying there, I think that if you don't believe in your own self and your product anyway, that's going to emanate out into your client base. So with yourself personally, though, I've seen some of the stuff online, and I want to talk to you about your journey as well. But your own kind of journey around the self-belief, the self-talk, the self-doubt, the mental health side. Let's go into that.
Where do you want to start, mate? Because there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, tell us, mate, because I know you've had some losses, shall we say, and you know, I've been open myself about my own depression and stuff, and coming through that. So just whatever you're comfortable with, but talk us some of the scariest moments, the darkest times, the trauma, the times when you wanted to give up, all those kind of times, right?
Giving up's not an option. I don't think it ever has been. I think it all stems back, and I can't put it back any further than this, but childhood, where I just felt the need, and I still do in some ways, but nowhere near as much, like external validation, like just constantly seeking it, constantly. I wanted people to think I was good, funny, clever, don't know, whatever it was. And I was always looking outside rather than inside. And now I can see it when other people are like that, but I couldn't see it in myself. Looking back, definitely could. I can see it now that I was just doing stupid things. And obviously, young lad, I live in Macclesfield, there isn't that much to do, so you end up drinking a lot, and I would drink loads, go out on sessions and stuff, and that, I think, started to cause anxiety. So I've had anxiety probably from, I don't know, 19, 20, something like that. And I've been on some meds, off some meds, and it comes and goes. Like, I'm on medication now. I'm on I can't remember what it's called.
Sertraline?
Citalopram.
Right.
And they gave me, I went in and said, I'm anxious about a number of things.
Yeah.
The main thing is I've got too much like energy. I'm an overthinker, perfectionist. I will think about things to the nth degree. Like I think a lot of entrepreneurs are. And she said, "Oh, we'll give you this antidepressant." I was like, I'm not depressed. Like, I don't need bringing up, I need bringing down.
Right.
Which was interesting. So she then explained, "Oh, it will balance you out." And you know what, mate? I went back and said, I want more of it. Really? So I've actually recently doubled my dosage.
Right.
And it's the best thing I've done in ages. And I'm not coming on here and say that anyone else should do that. No. But I can operate at a normal level now. Yeah. Which is really weird.
Well, firstly, I think it's very brave of you to say that. You know, I personally tried the medication similar to that, and it didn't work for me. And I think what you're saying here is that it's never a one size fits all approach, right? You've got to identify and accept and be aware of whatever it is, and then seek out the right treatment or resolution for that. But
it was I wasn't even going to go for it at all. I wasn't even going to go to an appointment because I knew what the outcome would be. I'd be in there for a minute and a half, and they go, "Take antidepressants. Here's some medication." That, like, they treat it like a one size fits all.
So you didn't feel like a stigma. You didn't feel not embarrassed. But you just wanted a solution, right?
Yeah, I don't want to be on medication.
No,
but it doesn't make me weak because I am.
So what does it do then? Does it remove the anxiety, or what does it give you more confidence, or what?
Doesn't give me more confidence. No, I think it just, instead of just being up here all the time, like intense, like emotional, reactive, it just it just brings me back down, and I can operate from a logical standpoint, which as a business owner for me is really important.
Yeah, talk to me about that, because I know I'm acutely aware of when you're in that emotional state, and you know everything's amplified, isn't it? You know, something happens or doesn't happen, and I certainly catastrophize or think. So talk to us about some of the times where you've had to cope with that, and now the difference of not having that must be great as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, I used to, and I still do, give myself like 30 to 40 quid spends a week. That's it. Everything else covered, like haircut, shopping, that kind of thing, but just me money. Yeah. I'd give myself about 40 pounds spends. I would buy other things for sure, but trying to operate. And I remember, like, only a couple of years ago, we've been going out for a family meal, and this isn't because we were broke. this is just being protective of money and being paranoid and like just being on edge about stuff, and just like saying to Amy, my wife, like, let's just have tap waters here so we can get some better mains. Just because I wanted like that safety net, that protection. And I think now I don't think it's a result of the medication. It's more a result of making more money through the business and realizing the risks you take usually pay off if they're calculated. Now I don't view money like that at all.
Is it a fear thing then, or because I've been historically the opposite? I get money, I spend it. Now I realise that you don't have to do that. You can invest it or save it. But I saw one of your posts where you say you've got almost like a lot of money stashed away, if I could say that kind of stuff. I think you did actually say that. What's your modus operandi for that? Why do you want to be so frugal? Have you got a grand plan with that money, or?
I'm holding it in savings. It's not loads.
Yeah. You're not a multi-millionaire or anything like that.
No, I'm not anywhere near the millionaire, but yeah. So I've got it in savings. I'm making a little bit of money off it each month, which is cool.
Okay.
The grand plan is to use that to reinvest into the business rather than invest it into like anything really, apart from the business. So I'm still only taking from the business like 600 quid a month, 650 quid a month to stay below that 12k threshold.
Well, that's a lot of kind of, probably for want of a better term, restraint and measure, which conflicts, I think, to things like you said. You talk about external validation. So money's not important to you. You don't use it as a vehicle to sort of get validation. But this validation thing, then, where do you think that stems from?
Insecurity, I think, when I was younger. I don't know about what. I was quite skinny.
Right.
No, that was it. I think like I wasn't good looking, bad looking. I was pretty much playing average at everything.
Yeah.
In school, sports.
Because it's difficult, isn't it, with social media, whereby we're kind of in it now, and it kind of goes with the territory where, irrespective of what we say, I think everyone, when a post flops, it does affect me, and when it goes well, I do feel that dopamine hit, right? So I think that it's hard not to lean towards your worth being associated to the number of followers or likes or comments and that kind of stuff. What would you say to that?
Zoom out is my advice to myself and my clients. Because if you're honing in on one post, you're sort of missing the point. I think I rarely, I mean I must do subconsciously, but I rarely look at my posts on LinkedIn in terms of numbers. I don't really take them in. I will notice if one's done really badly or really well, but overall, I don't know. Yeah. Because I don't do massive numbers I don't get massive engagement numbers. So it's about widening your perspective, because most people, and this is how most people live their lives, they're caught up in the reactive. They're caught up in the day-to-day, acting emotionally, and that's exactly what I didn't want to do, is be someone that just acts entirely on emotion like I was. So I like to just ask myself the question, like, what happens if I widen the perspective? What happens if, I focus on a year instead of a day? And that is just like one post. And also you've got to remember that you're dealing with robots here as well who are distributing your content. It's not you going up to people and them ignoring you. People might not have even seen that post. Yeah. So you're not going up in the street and going, hey, I've just put 10 hours into this. Do you want to just take a look at it? And do you mind hitting this physical bell or this heart?
That's right. I mean, I look at some posts, and some people's posts, they do really, really well. They have like 400, 500, 600 likes per post as a selfie. And I used to get that myself, but my engagement's gone way down. But the quality of my actual lead generation and my business has gone way up. And I think that's the trick. And I think some people, almost, if they had the choice between likes and comments and that kind of stuff versus money, they'd probably still choose the former, because they're so entrenched in kind of getting that. And actually, so it's about the end goal. And obviously, you need to have the followers and the likes as well. But I think that's what you do. You actually get the quality as opposed to the quantity. But obviously you want both, right?
Yeah, I think if you're starting out, I think just go for quantity, because ultimately by doing the reps, you will end up producing quality. If you do something enough times, you get better at it. But yeah, I completely agree, Chris. It's like, it's really, really hard to see who's trying to do what with their posts sometimes, because they might be getting all these likes. But is, like you say, is it is resulting in what they want, which might be, it might just be the likes, and that's fine. It's a bit weird, but you know, I think you can build an audience to a certain degree with high engagement and not sell anything and then try and monetize. But why not just try it a little bit at the same time? You'll notice if a blatant sales post of mine goes out, the engagement will be really low usually, and then another post it'll be quite high. But you know, I put them out with a specific intention, and a lot of it is just nurturing. That's it.
I mean, there was a big hiatus. Well, there was a big kind of bit of a rumble on LinkedIn about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it, where one guy in particular was trying to out what he called fake people, big influencers posting and getting like 400 or 500 likes within 3 minutes and bloody 40 odd reposts within 3 minutes, probably clearly using engagement pods, all that kind of stuff. What's your view on that? Because I feel that I feel there are some disingenuous people out there, and that's just life. But what's your general take on it?
I don't know what's worse. The guy spending time analysing the posts or the people in the engagement pods. I can see why it might look good on paper or excite people. But again, like what for what? Like what's the end goal with it? Just to have that number there? Or does that number actually financially impact
if they're taking money off people and doing that, I feel that takes it a bit too far.
You know, they're charging for like LinkedIn services, but I think anyone doing something like that should be outed.
Yeah. So we'll go back into that in a minute. But you've mentioned a few things about, you know, being skinny when you're younger. But so I'd like to know more about you and your journey. So why don't you paint us a picture, mate? Kind of since you left school to where you are now. What's gone on in your life?
Oh, geez. I went to school, finished. I can't remember. In fact, I'm not even going to say the year. Okay. But yeah, I went to school, then went to sixth form for a year. Got kicked out just before the end of the year. I went from being average or slightly above average, maybe intelligence, to the lowest intelligence in sixth form, because a lot of the less intelligent people tend to not go. So I didn't know what to do then. I think I got an apprenticeship in a science lab for 2 years at AstraZeneca, who everyone will have heard of now.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
In the Q&A department. And yeah, around that time I was smoking a load of weed, and that's when the sessions basically started. Then I went to college and did music tech because Zeneca didn't want to keep me on, probably for obvious reasons. I enjoyed music tech, got the option to go to uni and decided against it because not many of my friends had gone, and again didn't think it would be cool, or maybe didn't want to be alone as well. Could have been something. And then after that I did some trade jobs for a bit, just making money, and then fell into a sales role.
Right, okay. How old are you then?
23.
How old are you now? You
can 24. Say. Huh? 24.
You're only 24?
I wish I was, mate.
Oh, you look 24.
I'm 37.
God, I wish I was 37. Anyway.
I wish I was 24. Yeah. So yeah, after that, I worked my way around a few of the local call centers and stuff. Yeah. Got made redundant a bunch of times. That's when I moved out around that time from my parents' house as well. And then started working at this one call center where I got made redundant and they took me the next day. And I went in there and I absolutely smashed it, cleared up, made a few good mates. And that was me putting the reps in, because you had to do 220 dials every single day. You got bollocks if you didn't. Your gap time had to be below a certain...
So old school cold calling, just making it happen, right?
Cold calling, right. Selling, appointment setting, that kind of thing. And you cut your teeth in situations like that. You really do. And as horrible as it was, that was... I'm grateful for that place. I met one of my best mates there. Yeah. And met Amy there as well.
Right. Your current wife, right?
Current. Yeah. For now.
Yeah. Don't know what I say current for. Anyway. But it's, I grew up in a similar kind of environment, S3, where it was like that hardcore sales. And, if I was late, my ties get chopped off and throw donuts at me. It was all kind of like all that. But actually, it kind of made me. Like, I didn't fear anybody. Like, so when I was on the phone to CEOs, I didn't put them as inferior or superior. I just kind of went for it. And I think on the phone, I think in some ways it's easier because you're not face to face. It's the tone of voice. I think it's a bit of an art form, isn't it, on the phone?
Definitely, especially the longer that cold calling's gone on, because people get more pissed off with it. So then the bar's raised before
Yeah.
who you'll actually speak to, especially if you're a CEO. But yeah, like I ended up really liking it, really liking it. Not that particular role, because I then moved on to work in recruitment for a bit, and then I landed a job at a marketing agency. But it was all based around outbound, attract someone's attention, get them to like you, get them to trust you, and then book a meeting or sell to them, essentially. So there's definitely, it's an art and a science. It's a numbers game, but a targeted numbers game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it still excites me now. I might actually do a YouTube video one time where I do some cold calls, trying to sell something that doesn't exist. Maybe
BD's made a renaissance because it's needed to, particularly in my sector in recruitment, where for 2 or 3 years it's been easy, but now my clients have kind of had to unwire themselves, and they've expected the roles to come in. And I'm all for like the nurturing, the personal branding, and the that kind of stuff in terms of winning sales, but also think doing some of the cold calling as well in the right way can yield good dividends as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. You think sales is built on trust.
Yeah.
Trust is usually formed after some form of relationship, or like a perceived relationship.
Yeah.
And how do you start a relationship? Well, you have to go and speak to people.
Yeah.
Or they have to see you in some form.
Yeah.
So yeah, one-to-one conversation is really powerful. And when COVID kicked in, and everyone worked from home, we expected it at the agency to become, we had video teams that we had to like furlough for a bit, because obviously we couldn't go out, but we had other things that we could sell that were purely remote. And getting hold of people then and building relationships with them right at the start of COVID from cold calling was so easy.
Yeah, because I thought in many ways, surely it's easier than a face-to-face meeting or online meeting, because like, what's the worst that can happen? They can put the phone down on you. That's what I was always saying. What is the worst that can actually happen in this situation?
Nothing bad's ever really happened to me. I think the worst thing is where you have a really good call with someone, then you ring them back, and I remember someone just saying, "Hi, it's Chris. We spoke yesterday," and they're like, "Yep. How can I help?" And I'm like,
"You remember me?"
Like, yeah, it was literally 12 hours ago that we spoke.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing. In fact, so what? That's why anything that happens is like water off a duck's back now, I think. And again, helps with the zooming out perspective. A lot of people I see get hung up on like, oh, this one person didn't show up to a discovery call, or the post flop, or whatever it is. It's just like, we'll just go and do more of the thing that got you that, and then you'll get the result.
It's interesting you say that, just to digress, because I want to talk to your story in a minute. I've been a guest on a few podcasts, and I talk about my story quite a lot. And one person said to me yesterday, "Do you think you're vulnerable and authentic online?" I said, "Yeah, I'm vulnerable." And she said, "Well, no, I think you can go a lot harder." But also, what I find when I'm telling my story, I talk about the abandonment, the losing my business, the negative stuff, which I want to find out. But I never really praise myself about being a good father or the good stuff I've done. I think sometimes, to your point, we often focus on the negative and get shy about our achievements. What would you say to that?
People don't want to come across braggy, I think. And I toyed with this, like, I think in my content on Instagram, I'll happily talk about money all day long. How much money I've made, how much other like clients have made, things like that. On LinkedIn, I like really held off. And then I thought, like, why is this? Like, it's because I'm afraid of bragging. And people will think this. But again, removing the emotion completely, we're talking in facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not an opinion. It's not me trying to look good. It's not me trying to show off. It's actually me stating a fact.
Yeah. And that's what I tell my clients. I love how you do it, Chris. You're always talking about your references, and so, well, why can't you've got the references there? Why wouldn't you promote that to get the business? It's a strange one, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. Again, I think it comes through just going through the ring and really, you do get to a point, I think, when you start publishing content online. It's scary for some people. It was scary for me. I probably held myself up by 5 years.
Right.
Due to fear of judgment and what other people were going to say about me. And I went through this like exercise. It wasn't guided or anything. I was like, who is it that and I narrowed it down to 2 people. Both were mates.
Right.
And I was scared that they were going to say, who are you trying to be, like the next Stephen Bartlett or something like that.
Oh, wow. Right.
So I'd like,
so it wasn't people you didn't know, it's actual mates you were concerned about. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why anyone would care about people they don't know.
But I think people do think that.
I think they do.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you actually think about that as a concept,
when you
again,
zoom out.
trying to remove the emotion out of everything, it's like, what's fact, what's not?
Yeah,
okay,
true.
if it's not an absolute fact,
Yeah.
then it's not necessarily true. You can cast that aside. What is the fact? What is the fact here?
Yeah.
They don't know you. Are they going to come and kill you?
Yeah.
No. Are they going to come and swear at you? No,
Yeah.
probably not.
And it's even if there's it's a question of, can you categorically say that's true, even if it's a little bit true, but it doesn't make it as bad as what you think it's made it. And also time as well. And sometimes I used to put a post out or a video out and not want to watch it back. I mean, what is all that about? I just think it just comes with time.
Your standards, but your personal standards become higher, and you know the bar gets raised.
Yeah.
Whereas it only took a couple of months from me hiding behind design and not showing my face to doing some, like, getting my face out there, talking head videos.
Yeah, right.
And stupid videos with my daughter and stuff like that,
There
with
you
the
go.
marketing or sales spin.
Yeah.
So but again, I think I needed the validation to do that. I think I did at the start.
Yeah.
You do need someone to believe in you. Almost like, it's weird. You kind of need to be given permission, or a lot of people do, and I certainly did. Kind of need to be given permission to do what you want, to live your life how you want to live it, because everyone's just been molded and shaped into this one way or a couple of ways of thinking, and you shouldn't go too far that way, or you shouldn't go too far that way. Like, it's like being at school. Like, if you were thick, you get bullied. If you were too clever, you get bullied. So it's like people are punished from an early age almost for standing out in some way. So it's like very much, but it's the people that stand out that make the difference in some way.
What areas of your life do you think you need to look at more of?
I need to work less. I need to sleep more. I need to spend more time with my family. I need to not drink, but I don't. I only probably drink once a week.
So why aren't you doing those things?
Well, great question. Why aren't I doing them? Because I believe that life kind of goes in cycles or seasons where you do need to lessen intensity in some areas and increase it in others. So right now, it's business focused. And if I have to get 6 hours sleep instead of 8, that's fine. If I have to miss out on a few bedtimes with my daughter, then that's fine. Because again, you pull it back to the fact, why am I doing this?
Yes.
Well, I like buying some designer clothes. I want to go on holiday once a year, and I want to pass on as much money as possible to my stepson and my daughter. That's pretty much it. I want to pay the mortgage off, maybe. That's it.
Do you have any regrets about decisions you made, stuff you've done in the past, and how's that affected you and other people around you?
Not really. No, because I think it's due to pan out the way it's going to pan out. You can mold it as much as you want, but only so far. And we wouldn't be sat here having this conversation if I hadn't made the decisions I've made. And I wouldn't be as content as I am in the job that I've got if I hadn't made the decisions I've made. Have I made stupid decisions? Yeah, a lot of them, probably every week.
Give us an example.
Oh God, I don't know what I can think of off the cuff. Really bad. Well, my ex-girlfriend, that was a stupid decision. But letting that go on for too long.
Right, yeah.
And again, operating from a place of fear. And I remember when I first moved into my the first house on my own, because when I moved out, I lived with a mate, then I lived with him again for another year, then 2 mates, and it, great time, glorious time.
Yeah.
And then I went from this, we had hired, I'm so used to saying the word hired. We had a pretty big house for people our age because there was 3 of us. So after that, I moved into a 2 up, 2 down end terrace that was like leaning.
Right, okay.
Because that's all I could get a mortgage on.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work the heating. I remember coming home from this call centre in like November. There was damp on the walls. I was on my own, having split up with my ex-girlfriend, and I was just like,
wow, right.
This is again zoomed in too much. I was like, I need around here. Like I just need someone. I didn't need her. I needed someone.
Got you.
And that cycle just went on for ages. That was just a elongated bad decision.
No, because I always used to think that you don't need someone to make you happy, but I've kind of got to a stage now where I'm quite open to having relationships. I want to talk about relationships, but I also want to talk about your journey as well, because obviously you mentioned that you met your wife at that call center thing. So we kind of stopped there last time. So let's just carry on that journey if you want.
Yeah. So I just went upstairs because they put all the lads on this sales team in the basement. There's no windows or anything like that. Got a bit rowdy, loads of banter, that kind of thing. You know what it's like. Not quite cut your tie off. That was the rule before.
Yeah.
So no ties cut off, but it was brutal. It was good though. So I went upstairs one day and I saw this woman. Like I was like, oh my God. Went back down and told my best mate. Then I was like, someone new's just started. She's really fit.
Yeah.
And he was like, what does she look like? What does she look like? So I told him, he was like, oh, that's Amy. She's just come back off maternity leave. And I'm like, oh,
right.
What's she going having kids for?
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, she'd been working there for ages. Like she was one of the first people in the company. So we ended up on the same team. She ended up being my boss on a very small team that they put together just to trial something with a new client where we were outbound dialing and selling.
Yeah.
And I used to like make mistakes on calls, so she'd review them. It was her and another woman who headed
excuse to get some time with her, right?
Literally, yeah. And then like I could see her watching my screen. I'd just type things like "hiya," and I had eye contact with her across a massive room at this point because we got moved upstairs. Right. So yeah, what happened then? Yeah, we had a little chat at a Christmas do.
Yeah,
and then that gave me enough to like, right, I do really like her because we talked a little bit. She's a few years older than me, and yeah, I sent her a message saying, how many times did you catch me looking at you today?
You charmer.
I know. And she's like, a few. And then I've never opened up about this to anyone. We met up 3 times. This is while I was with my ex-girlfriend.
Right.
We met up 3 times. Nothing happened. On the 3rd time, I kissed her and I went to Adam's house actually and texted my girlfriend and said, look, I'm not coming home, but I think, you should get your stuff. And that was the end of it.
Decisive.
Well, I couldn't go go back home with that guilt, even though it was just a kiss.
So it's almost love at first sight, really, almost for you, in a way.
Yeah, not for her. It was for me.
You have to work on that one.
Yeah. She was quite like, I found her quite intimidating.
Right.
Like
older and
in a way,
more senior in a way.
Senior,
right.
Yeah. Taller than me with heels on. Not that that's hard. But yeah, she had a bit of a, I don't know. She was like quite serious as well until I got to know her. And yeah, I just found her a bit mysterious. I was like, I'm gonna look through her Facebook pictures and stuff. And,
nice.
Yeah. Then
so you had that confidence then to sort of, because some men don't have that confidence, or they do have that confidence, but a domineering woman, if you want, for want of a better term, you wasn't shy about that. You just wanted her, basically.
Yeah. Well, we'd obviously had this chat at the Christmas do.
Yeah.
And I think you had to vote for your employee of the year or something. And I was like, I went up to her and I was like, I voted for you. I was like, that's when I was drunk though.
Yeah.
So I went up behind her and said that. And then she came up and said something, I'm really attracted to you or whatever. And I was like, I've got a girlfriend.
Happy days.
Nothing happened. And then, this was January then.
Right. How old are you then?
We've been together nearly 11 years. So 27.
What, you were together 11 years with your old girlfriend?
No, with Amy.
Oh, with Amy. Oh, I see.
So 27 I was thereabouts. Maybe
I see,
26.
right. Oh, you've been together 11 years, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so you're at this point, you're still relatively a young man, basically, right?
Relatively.
You still are now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
She smartened me up.
In what way, though?
Well, fashion. But I didn't mean that. I mean, just made me see that things are bigger than hating your job, getting pissed, and then on Monday hating your job again.
Right.
And she had a 1-year-old at the time from the previous relationship of 12 years or something like that. And that was scary.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
But we decided, like, just leave it 6 months before I even meet Edward.
Yeah.
Leave it 6 months. and yeah, played with him, got on really well with him, like a true gangster. I love him. He's
I mean,
12 now.
I'm a stepdad. I've been a stepdad, and it's not. It's a very enjoyable role, but it's not easy role either, is it?
No, not at all. However, it's a lot easier for me than most. One, because his dad is around and he's actually a half decent guy.
Oh, great. Okay.
I don't like him,
No.
but he's a bit. In fact, I'm not going to put that out just in case Edward ever sees this. But Edward is like a pleasure to deal with. Like, he's organised. He gets up at like 6:45 every morning.
Wow.
He knows what he wants. He saves money. He spends too long on TikTok.
Just like you then.
Yeah, pretty much. He does want to go into content creation.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, he's got more followers than me on TikTok, but that's not hard.
You don't want to announce that too much, do you? Really?
No.
Okay, so your relationship with Amy flourished. Talk to us about that journey. The journey of your relationship and what happened next in your life at that point.
Well, I've just realised something, and I've only just realised it now because we're talking about this external validation.
Yeah.
With my ex-girlfriend, I was just stuck in all these jobs, these low-level call centre sales jobs. I thought I was making all right money, but it wasn't. It started at 11, and I think the highest I got to was 18k a year plus commissions.
Yeah.
So 11k when I moved out. Jesus. So I didn't level up in the business, in the career side of things, until I had the external validation of someone new, Amy, coming in, because we kept it secret at work for a bit. Then everyone knew, and then I was like, I'm going to move into this other job.
Yeah.
So I only just realised that everything we've talked about has relied on me being in some form externally validated by someone else or a group of people. It is interesting, isn't it?
Where do you think? Sorry to interrupt you. Where do you think you'd be if you didn't meet Amy? What sort of person do you think you'd be?
That's the big question, mate, because Amy, like I say, tightened everything up for me and like made a house a home and things like that. And obviously we had Ivy, which really made me like, you know what it's like when you become a dad. You have to level up in every aspect. If that hadn't have happened, I see me probably still being, if not with the same girlfriend, yes or no, but definitely doing the same sorts of things, in the same sorts of positions I was in, which would have been like catastrophe, mate.
Did you find it difficult though, because Amy had such a positive influence in your life in many aspects, that you became needy or fearful that she might leave you, or because that tends to happen sometimes, doesn't it? Or doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe a bit, but I think I can keep my cool on the surface.
Right.
So I'm quite self-aware, I think. So if I ever felt I was going to come across needy, I would pull back.
But she obviously saw your potential. She obviously fell in love with you or was with you for a certain reason. I can see that you're a good man and that kind of stuff, right? But I guess maybe you didn't believe that as much until she came along. Would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Like I've always thought I was better than the place I was in.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think again that was maybe me asking for that permission almost. Like I need someone to I can do something. I need someone to just show me the route almost.
So where did you get married? How was that for you?
Manchester Town Hall.
Nice.
Yeah, it was all right. We decided it was just going to be my mum and dad and her mum.
Love it.
No one else. And then we decided, it's going to be siblings. And then she decided, no, we'll bring in. So it got a bit bigger, but we went there and then we went to, it was 14 of us, I think, in total. Stretch limo from Macclesfield to there. She was in the Gotham Hotel getting ready.
Right, nice.
And then we went to Gaucho.
Oh, lovely. All right.
For food and then back to the hotel.
So talk to us about your family and maybe your parents and your siblings and that kind of stuff, because there's some stuff there, right?
Yeah, man. So one sister, one brother, 10 and 12 years older than me. So kind of from the age of like 10, when neither of them were around, I was almost like an only child.
Yeah.
But my mum and dad let me get away with a lot more. My dad certainly did than they would have let my brother and sister, because they'd been through it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They're not playing the same games. And
Yeah.
I was definitely the black sheep of the family in terms of like taking the piss and stuff. I wasn't that bad. I was just a cheeky chappy.
Yeah.
Who hung around with a few wrong uns. So yeah, my mum and dad were always really supportive. My mum really tried to steer me in like an academic way. My dad, very working class background, got abandoned as a kid, moved around from Leek to London to Macclesfield, worked in like shops. He ended up living with his great auntie, I think, for years, because his mum didn't want him. He went to the army. So, you know, that kind of person.
Was he quite strict with you or not?
Growing up, yeah, but we became best friends probably when I was like at the end of puberty, let's say, like 16, 17, if I've even finished it, I don't know. But yeah, like he was quite strict, but he had nothing and made sure that we had everything. He like, I always used to say, like, you're a working class hero to me, Dad. Like,
good role model, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I got, you know, funny guy, really funny guy. Everything was a joke, apart from if he got really pissed off. And I definitely think I've inherited some of those things.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, my mum was bookkeeper by trade, then started owning a business. She was 14 years younger than my dad, and they got told that they couldn't see each other by her parents because my dad was still married but going through a divorce at the time.
Right, okay.
But they did anyway, obviously, and then got married. So I only have had one set of grandparents, which was my mum's, and these two brothers and sisters. And yeah, everything, you know, we lived in a nice area in Mac because they paid 30 grand for the house just before I was born.
Right.
Which was, you know, crazy. Absolute crazy money. So the mortgage was paid off. My dad went through ups and downs in terms of redundancy, and I think that shook the family a little bit a few times. But yeah, all was pretty good. I can't really moan about having a bad childhood or anything like that. If anything, it was not really far the opposite, but it was just quite average, mediocre. I was left to my own devices. I lived on an estate, so we could go and play out and do whatever you want. There was parks and woods and stuff like that, which was.
And what's the relationship like with your older siblings?
Yeah, good. Yeah, close with my sister. Very close with my sister, actually. Yeah. Speak to her quite a lot. Trust her with anything. My brother's in London, so I don't see him as much. Sister's got two great kids as well. Yeah. Who I think look up to me, and I look up to them too. I offered my nephew a job actually recently, and he said no, it doesn't. He's only 18. Yeah. Doesn't fit in with my long-term goals, Chris. I'm like, you're 18.
Yeah, right.
I didn't even know what a long-term goal was when I was 18.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good, man. So yeah, my mum got dementia at an early age, very early age. She's still alive and in a home.
Okay.
So she was the youngest person in there. There's other people that, you know, really loud and don't know what they're doing. She's just sat there dead placid. So she was early 50s.
That's quite hard to deal with, right? For you, or
it's horrible
for her, obviously, but you know,
it's horrible. Yeah, but it's been that long,
right, that
you do kind of adjust to it. The first time I went into the home, you know how that homes kind of smell like. I got in there, and then I was on my own. I should have gone with my sister. Yeah. But yeah, I went in, saw her, and then I collapsed in bloody tears in the bathroom.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. But you do again, like it's exposure to stuff. I got used to it. So I don't get upset about it anymore. Yeah. Whereas I might with my dad. Right. Because he's gone. I think I was a bit closer to my dad as well.
When did he pass away?
Just over a year ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 months after my sister's husband died in a motorcycle accident as well. Wow. So that was fucking crazy. And in the middle of that is when I quit my job. That was the catalyst for me going, I need to do what I want.
So how did that affect you then? You just touched on it there, but I mean, it's still going to affect you. You're not going to ever get over that to some degree, right? But
yeah. It was tough, man. Really tough. My sister, I was picking Ivy up from kickboxing, and my sister rang me 3 times. I was like, picked it up, and she was like, Ross is dead. She was there.
Yeah.
So he'd left for work. He worked about 20 minutes away on his
Yeah.
motorbike. Bearing in mind he's an ex-copper, head of the motorcycle part of the police in that particular area, which I think was Mac.
Yeah.
That's before he got with my sister. So, yeah, he'd driven to work, and then I think my sister got a call saying he's not shown up. So she went on, tracked my iPhone, because they all, even the kids, are still now at their age, 18 and 21, or sorry guys if you're listening, I can't remember how old you are. All's 21 now actually, but yeah, going back to last year. So yeah, find my iPhone and it's just in one position on this country road. So she drove down there, and yeah, there was a scene there.
Oh my God! Right.
Yeah, she didn't fully see him, but she saw his legs.
So the worst fears were being realised.
Yeah. And she's obviously rung me. So I've met Amy halfway between our house and kickboxing, and she said, go back to my house. I was like, I'm coming to pick you up. And she said, no, I'm driving.
Yeah.
Go back to my house. Don't tell Sophie, who's her daughter, don't tell Sophie anything. I was just like, I can't go in that house and look at Sophie saying her stepdad's been killed. I'm going to have to just sit outside. So then I was like, what am I doing? I was sat in a car, like, I need to be there for my sister or whatever. So I rang her, and she was crying that hard. I swear I could hear both of them laughing, her and him. And I was just like, what the hell's got, my head was just up my arse, obviously. I was like, they're both in the car laughing. And obviously they weren't.
Yeah.
So I got back. He's got 2 kids grown up.
No way.
So sister had to ring them, had to ring his mum. It's terrible, man. So yeah, that was another time when my legs went carrying the coffin.
Did they?
My legs went, yeah, not fully, but I was like really unsteady. That was just, and again, I wouldn't say it's because we weren't mega close. We got on really well. Had a good laugh. She had the same birthday as well, which kind of tarnishes the day for me slightly, and also for my sister. But we always went out and had good times. So it's sad.
When something like that happens, you end up reflecting, I think, quite a lot, don't you?
Massively. So yeah, I remember the night. I remember when I made the decision to quit my job, because I thought that phone call that came from my sister was going to be about my dad, because he was in hospital.
Yeah.
And like, just didn't expect it to be the other way around. So yeah, I left her house at some point that evening after it had all happened. I was like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna go and get a bottle of rum. Like, I'm not going into the agency role tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
And that was the final tipping point. And I was on the phone to her till like 4 a.m, just drinking, and yeah. It's still very surreal at that point as well. So he was working a night shift. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon. So for her, he's just on that night shift.
Yeah.
So you could probably like adjust or fall asleep if she did. I don't know, but fall asleep and then wake up again. And no, he's always just at work.
But it just kind of smacks of the truth that life can be too short, can be taken away from you. All the cliches you want to say. How has that kind of almost galvanized you in terms of, if it has at all, in terms of or changed your approach to life in any way at all, or not?
I think it should have done more than it did, or has, or does. But yeah, it has to some degree, but not as much as you probably think it would. There was so much packed into that year, though. It was crazy. Obviously, we've been working at home for 2 years due to COVID. Pretty much, I didn't really go into the office again much after that. So I was so just used to being in this room basically, where my office, and then that thing with Russ happened. I quit my job. My dad died, which was expected. And yeah, I don't know. I still just kind of stayed in this work bubble. I don't know. We mentioned the medication before. I think that probably plays a little part in just like subduing the emotions a bit.
Yeah,
I've had a couple of breakdowns, i.e., like crying wise, but not as much as I would have thought. But they're both like you can't compare us for my sister as well.
Yeah.
Like, how do you compare
But I think,
husband and dad in 3 months?
I think people deal with things in different ways, and I'm a coach myself, but I've been very open with the fact that I've had my own coaches, I have my own therapy, and I think it's really important for everybody, no matter who you are, to have your own coach and your own therapy. And I still feel as if I'm processing some trauma, and I still do find it quite difficult to fully let go with my emotions in terms of crying and that kind of stuff. I'm not saying you have to cry for the sake of it, and without being too straightforward, I think women are better at it or find it easier to show their emotions. What's your view, and how have you dealt with the emotions, the crying, that kind of stuff? How do you feel about processing trauma and emotions in that way?
I'd say these are the first two major bits of trauma that I've experienced, really. And I think I dealt with them, like you say, coping mechanism. Everyone's got, whether they know it or not. And me maybe not reacting as I thought I would is due to some form of coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think that was being so busy with work.
Yeah, right.
That I haven't had time to cry as much as maybe I should have done. Then again, I'm not a big crier anyway.
No.
Really, I wouldn't have any problem showing it.
Yeah.
I did an interview, one of those client interviews with someone yesterday, and they made me well up.
Right.
Because I'm actually quite an emotional person.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I don't know. It's something I've not tapped into or really thought about.
It's one of those where, though, isn't it? It's like people say, oh, the best way to attack it is to look forward. But I believe actually, until you go back and process it, you can't really. You're still shackled by it. And when you say you haven't got time, people might think, well, you haven't got time to process it. Is that a defense mechanism? But I don't think you can force the emotions to come out. Maybe it's just a journey that you're going on, and it's like, it'll come out in a way it comes out, right? But I think we talked about just before the show started about when your mate asked you what you're doing today, and you said, well, I'll get up about 9 o'clock and have a bit of coffee and breakfast and go on a podcast. And for me, all the stuff we've talked about is that I used to run a big business. I had all the money, all the trappings. I used to do 9 to 5, but now I'm an entrepreneur, and I kind of I dictate my own diary. And it's, for me, what is happiness, what's success, things happen. To me, it's having conversations like this. Yes, being open and vulnerable, but kind of like living my life in a way that I'm not necessarily chasing stuff. I don't know where I'm going with this. I think where I'm going with this is, it feels, I think you said, you're the most content you've been for a while. How, in answer to frame that whole sentence there, how happy are you? What's happiness to you? What's contentment to you?
Happiness for me is being around people who make me feel good. And doing what I want with my time, because I'm quite content on my own now. I wouldn't have been years ago. You have to go through those steps, the journey. Similar to yourself when you mentioned it earlier. I think it's just being around people that make me feel happy, and working makes me feel happy. I absolutely love it, and that's all right. You're allowed to like what you want.
Of course.
Some people are
it's
into some really weird stuff.
Yeah, I think we're fortunate to be in that position, because I think a lot of people in this world, they go to work, they come home, they earn the money, and they don't even know why they're fucking doing it. And this is the purpose of the leadership podcast, and you don't have to have your purpose defined, but I think if you haven't got fulfillment in what you're doing, life can be quite difficult. And for me, it's about finding just that flow, I think.
That's exactly where I would be if I hadn't met Amy. Exactly what you just described, I reckon.
Yeah.
Dead end job, pretty much.
We're kind of coming. The time has just flown by. We've only got a couple of minutes left. It's been fascinating to get to know you, mate. What advice would you give entrepreneurs or someone coming out of university, or a young guy or young girl trying to make their way in the world, new to social media, new to life? What would you say to them?
I think I'd tie in with the purpose side of things. But don't get too hung up on what other people are doing or what other people think of you, because that stopped me for years, maybe my whole life, acting the exact way I wanted to do. So making a plan as to what you actually want to achieve,
Yes.
Knowing that that plan will not be where you end up, but just taking the steps towards that plan mean that you're making progress.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't put people on a pedestal as well, or let you might have these one or two people like I did in your head that are actually you're living life on their terms. So you've got to be really careful about that. And taking action. If there's a closing statement from me, man, taking action.
Definitely,
like you want
mate.
something, don't wait for someone to hand it to you, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Work out what the big one-off like things are that you've got to do. Work out what the daily habits are that you've got to do to achieve that goal. As an example of that, if you're joining a gym, if you want to lose weight, a one-off action is joining a gym.
Yeah.
The habit is going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's downloading MyFitnessPal as the one-off thing versus tracking your calories every day. So what are the big things? What are the small things that you can do daily? And then those small wins will just tally up. Don't worry about where you're meant to be by a certain age or what society's like trying to dictate to you, I think is one of the biggest things.
That's really, really powerful. Mate, absolute pleasure. Thank you. Where can people find you? It's probably an obvious question, but what's the best way to get hold of you?
I would go to LinkedIn or YouTube now.
YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, ramping it up this year.
Nice.
Next year, sorry. So it's just Chris James Online until I can think of something short and snappy.
Mate, absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming
Chris.
on.
Appreciate it, man.